We're Suns fans, and we're here to discuss the offseason and all the goings-ons. There's a little series that we're going to be doing here on the Jam Session podcast. There's actually two series that we're going to be doing. We've already started the Trade Machine series. You can check out our episode that we put out this past Monday, Trade Machine, Landry Shamet. And on Mondays, we will continue to do Trade Machine. And on Thursdays, we're doing this one right here, and that's testing the free agent market. And we're going to go position by position and give you, the listener and watcher, an overall understanding of what exists on the market. Who's out there? Who might interest us? Who could the Suns potentially target as they attempt to reconstruct this roster, knowing that the new CBA is looming, and it's going to be really, really hard to do so. So, Matthew, as we get ready for this episode, have you researched the new CBA anymore? Are you more terrified because you've seen what it is and how it operates?
No, actually, I did listen to Bill Simmons and when he talked about it a little bit, and it was kind of what we went over too. But he's talking about, I don't think they know what they're getting into, these players. Like, it's going to be a lot different in a few years. I think in a few years, we're actually going to feel the consequences as fans. We're going to be like, so wait, we can't really have anybody on our team that's good. We can't form the super teams. Guys can't really go to where they want to go anymore. It kind of sounds nice if you want to spread the love around the league, of course. But for us fans, especially when you're trying to build something in Phoenix for once, it's like restrictions. And now it's like the thing is endless, obviously, with the aprons and stuff like that. But just the gist of it, you're kind of screwed as a Suns fan. And I think fans in general, even my friend that's an OKC fan, he was talking about, he's like, yeah, it kind of sucks because we got these young players and I don't even know how are we going to pay, the ones that are coming up that are going to be making the max. It's going to be tough to do that too.
Yeah, I think for those of you who don't listen to Bill Simmons' podcast, he put one out recently, and I think it was a good overall representation of what we attempted to do as we talked about it like it was cryptocurrency here at the Suns Jam Session podcast. But essentially, you got a couple different ways you can construct your roster moving forward. You can have two superstars and then a bunch of low or mid-level exception guys. You're not going to be able to stuff the ballot box with a ton of those middle-class contracts, if you will, the Landry Shamet type contracts, right? Those guys who make anywhere between $10 and $18 million, they have to be unbelievably productive and healthy for you to be effective moving forward. Or you do a bunch of the mid-level guys, between 10 and 18, and then you got a bunch of average Joes out there. And I think that Bill Simmons and Ryan Russillo said it best when it really is going to kill the middle class of the NBA. That's exactly how this is going to operate. And that's somewhat the intended consequence because this is an attempt by the players and the owners in an effort to try to kill the super team, if you will. But again, it doesn't really allow for teams like Oklahoma City Thunder to develop talent and then hold on to that talent because there's no incentive in the long run to do so. One of the things that Simmons suggested is if you hold on to a guy, you start to get kickers on their contract that don't affect your cap, i.e. Stephen Curry, i.e. Devin Booker, who has been with the team for 7 seasons. And what you could essentially do is you pay him a max contract, but 2 or 4% of that contract doesn't count towards your overall cap. And it compounds itself or it adds upon itself year to year. So it incentivizes players to stay and it incentivizes player development. So as we navigate these series of Trade Machine and free agent market, it's going to be a challenge. We're essentially right now, as we enter this new year of the CBA, we're throwing darts against a dartboard randomly, picking out players that we kind of like, observing guys who might be available and we think that the Suns should get. But ultimately, from a strategic standpoint, the Phoenix Suns, James Jones, and every other organization is going to be learning on the fly, and they're going to have plenty of very smart thinkers trying to predict how this ultimately can play out over a 1-year, 5-year, and 10-year span for their team.
Absolutely, John. I mean, you summed it up perfectly, and I think it's going to be a learning process for all of us. It's right now starting off on a kind of a negative foot, right? When you hear new CBA, you think, okay, more money, right? We can just actually add these guys. But now they're kind of taking apart the super team. It kind of sucks, but I think after a few years, we'll look back and be like, you know what, maybe this was better for the league. Who knows? The fact that these guys make so much money right away off the bat is crazy to me still. Yeah. Not proving a damn thing.
Yeah.
If there's ways to pay these players based on performance that doesn't affect the salary that they earn actually from the NBA or this, I don't even know. You know what I mean? There's other ways maybe these guys can earn some money other than their salary, right? How they perform, the minutes they play, the championships they win and stuff like that. It should be more based off of that. I just hate that there's such a restriction now on this, and it's for everybody, obviously, but it's going to affect us this next season drastically.
And I got to say, for us who are not really contract aficionados, why the fuck did they have to go do this now? Like, we do a podcast. We like to talk about the Suns. We like to talk about, potential players and point guards we should target. And then they go throw all these other weird stipulations. I don't know how to explain it. I'm guessing. Like, I'm just a fan, man. I'm just a fan.
No, yeah, and it doesn't bother. I throw out the most random stuff ever. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care. As long as the trade machine accepts the trades and I can go on and see what a sexy name looks like, I'm going to throw it down here on Suns Jam, and I'm going to make you guys eat it. You're going to love it. You're going to love these players that we're going to throw at you.
Well, that's what we're going to do on this edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast. We're going to talk about the free agent market relative to point guards. We're going to make you eat it, and you're going to enjoy it. But while you're eating it, I do want to remind everybody that DraftKings has upgraded their sign-up offer for a limited time. If you're a new user, you can receive $200 in bonus bets by following just 3 steps. Create an account, make a deposit, and then wager $5 on any sport. Whether your first wager win or loses, you still receive the $200 in bonus bets. All you have to do is use the code SUNSJAM when you sign up. And the best part is, don't know if you know this, Matthew, but using our code, SUNSJAM, not only gets you the bonus, but it also supports the podcast. So if you're considering signing up for DraftKings, definitely use our code SUNSJAM to maximize your first bets. The offer is available only for new customers who are 21 and over and physically present in Arizona. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXTSTEP. Check out the episode description for the full terms of the offer. If you have an alcohol drinking problem, grab yourself a Moscow Mule, because the summer of the Mule continues. Grab yourself one of these ice-cold Bundaberg beers, right? Ginger beer, that is. Non-alcoholic, but delicious. It's got the funny tabs on it, so you gotta don't get your finger stuck in there because it hurts. And you pull that. Ooh, hear that pop? Pull that sucker off. You throw it over there. Your wife yells at you tomorrow because you forgot to pick it up.
His wife takes down that picture, right?
Literally.
My sister, as soon as the podcast is over, she takes that thing down and puts it in the closet.
She opens the door and puts this thing in the closet. You saw it last time.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you're done in here.
Yeah, get out of here.
Get out of here. Cheers. Let's talk about some point guards. That's what we're discussing on this edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast. And we're going to go through the point guard position. Now, obviously, you take a look at the Phoenix Suns point guard position. And to start, we currently have 2 point guards returning under contract next year. We have Chris Paul and we have Cameron Payne. It's been rumored that Chris Paul will receive the full guarantee of his offer, which is just over $30 million. And we know that Cameron Payne makes, about $6 million a year, right? So, in theory, if the Suns are to stick with this iteration of their lineup and these 2 individuals, they won't be exploring much of the free agent market relative to point guards. So the first question I have for you, Matthew, should that be their strategy? Should they go, you know what, we've got Chris Paul, albeit 38, we've got Cameron Payne, all we need to do is find the backup to the backup point guard on this team?
It's probably going to be the thing that they do go with, but Monty is gone. Cameron Payne, I feel like, was more of a Monty guy, right? Depends who they get here as coach. I think that's the first step. Coach is here. We'll figure out who these guys are. And I think that if they count on Chris Paul next year and they can actually rely on him to be healthy, that's one thing. But we all know as Suns fans, it's not going to be a possible thing. And we all know we can't go in next year looking at these guys again in the face, watching them on the screen play for the Phoenix Suns, because it's just not going to work out again. So no, absolutely not. We got to switch this thing up. Booker, KD, you're safe. Everybody else has got to go.
Well, we talked about it at the top of the pod, how one of the primary strategies that a lot of teams are probably going to utilize as they construct their rosters under the new CBA is the 2 superstar system. And that's what the Phoenix Suns have. And I'll tell you this, and I was thinking about this on my drive home. The 2 superstar system, and we got Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. Like, that's a hell of a start. That's a hell of a start, right? You're not sitting there, even Kawhi PG-13. Oh, these guys can never be on the court at the same time. They're always injured. When they are injured, we don't know what's going on. You look at other organizations throughout the NBA, and I will take R2 against any two in the NBA. It's a great place to start. When you start to get into the constructs of the remainder of this roster construction, with Chris Paul, I believe that the right step is to move on from Chris Paul. And if you can take that contract that he possesses, you can essentially spin it into maybe one or two assets, because that's how you have to operate in this new market that you have. Is you have to have the ability to just have players. You know, when you talk about Chris Paul, or I'm sorry, Devin Booker, and you talk about Devin Booker and just KD and D Book, when you look at their contracts, they take up like 70% of your payroll right off the bat and relative to the cap. So you're going to have to navigate it. And if you throw in CP3, I mean, you're sitting at like 89, 90% of the cap with those three players, and then throw in DA and boom, we're right there. So moving on from Chris Paul is the right move, in my opinion. And then it becomes, okay, well, who gets the filler? Cameron Payne ain't it. Cameron Payne's another guy who I feel like potentially the Phoenix Suns can move on from. I think that he is on just a good enough contract. I mean, again, he is non-guaranteed $6.5 million. That's a pretty good contract for a backup point guard, I feel. But when you're losing Chris Paul and his 30.8, I feel like you can use that. You're going to fill other positions, but I feel you can use some of that money to go at a potential new point guard, right?
Yeah, and it's all about the money here. It's going to be one of those things where I think as Suns fans will be okay with the fact that Chris Paul might go for nothing. We might get a second-round draft pick or something. You know what I mean? It's going to be something small. Any team that can take on that contract, it's going to be huge for us. Not a lot of teams really off the bat, probably young teams that want Detroit Pistons, maybe. I don't know. You know, who knows? He was going to go somewhere where it's a young team and they need that leader. Now, if it was a nice contract, of course I would want Chris Paul back. If it was something like 12 mil or something, 12, 15 mil, it would be nice to have him. He might still be our starter, but we would know, hey, like for real, this time, I'm telling you, this season, you would have to take a step back, but it's not going to happen. And the thing is, like, when I think of Cameron Payne, it's one of those things where we talked about before, I think a couple pods ago, I'm just totally done with the dude. You know what I mean? I want guys on this team to have confidence in themselves day to day. You know, if he was hurt, like Chris Paul was hurt, to basically, I don't know. I think Chris Paul being gone really hurt our chances, right, to make the finals a little bit, because you said Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, two guys that you want to have as your two main dudes on the team going in. Your king and queen, I guess. I don't even know. You want them. You want them to have a guy next to them that's just complimentary, right? And I think Chris Paul was kind of just that guy. He was perfect. And a team with Chris Paul, I mean, they did go 1-2 with him, but that team did win 2 games against this Nuggets team. You know what I mean? So It's like we're almost there. We know that Kevin Durant one season or one off season with this team, it's going to be huge. I think it's going to be drastically a big difference going into next year. All the Mikhail chat that I bring on, like, oh, did we really have to trade him? Yeah, it's going to make sense.
Yeah.
We talk about these point guards, like the guys I'm talking about. It's going to, these are some guys you can just slide right in there, and I feel like can just pick up quickly.
And I like what John Paul Edward DeDio says in the chat, one of our elite jamsters. Again, if you want to become an elite jamster, simply press the join button on our YouTube channel. It says Monty's system needed CP3 badly. And that's correct. The system that this team has been utilizing for the past 4 years was heavy on point guard. Ricky Rubio, CP3. There's going to be a new head coach in town, and someday we're going to know who that new head coach is.
Never.
The
Suns always do it.
Yeah, it's just like everybody's getting hired. I'm like,
everybody else is doing their shit. We always take forever.
Yeah, we're really thinking about this one. But whoever that is going to implement a new system. And based on that, to your point, they're going to work with James Jones and try to hopefully navigate and just say, hey, James Jones, here's how I like to run it. And potentially these might be my guys, right? We talk about Monty Williams, and I guess it's a good time to bring it up. Monty Williams obviously just took the head coaching job, or is in the process of taking the head coaching job with the Detroit Pistons. It was announced last night that he's agreed to a 6-year, $78.5 million contract with the Detroit Pistons. And there's kickers and things up there that make it upwards of $100 million. He's going to be the highest paid coach in NBA history, Matthew, our former head coach. And why is that? It's because the Detroit Pistons want a young or somebody who can navigate young players and motivate them and is a good foundational guy, and that's who Monty Williams is. And that's why instantly we all go there. Well, CP3 would be great to send there, sign and trade him, get some parts maybe from there. He can continue his journey with Monty Williams because Monty obviously likes him. I missed on our last podcast the trade machine Landry Shamet, because once it happened, I instantly put out a deal for Marvin Bagley, and it was like success. I was like, yes, I don't give a shit if Marvin Bagley sucks. Just get rid of Shamet, and we know that Monty Williams loves him, right?
That's gonna be a story for everyone leaving. We don't care. Just get rid of him.
So there are some pieces over there with Detroit that we could potentially acquire via trade, but that's not what we're looking at on this podcast. What I want to do is I want to literally go through all of the free agents that exist that are point guards, and there's essentially three different kinds. Let me put it this way. There's 4 different types, but 3 different kinds. And this is what I mean by that. There's 4 different types. If you go to sporttrack.com, they've got 4 different tiers, if you will. You have the all-star tier, the starter tier, the rotation tier, and the fringe tier. And of those, essentially, there's 3 different types. There's the unrestricted free agents, the restricted free agents, and then there's the player option teams. And I guess there's 4 because there's also the club option teams. So in total, there's going to be 40 potential point guard free agents. And I'm going to go through some of the different tiers and then some of the different types as well. And then based on those, we're going to have those conversations. And I'm going to just ask you a couple questions, right? Nice and simple. Who's the unrestricted free agent you want the Suns to pursue the most? And who is the restricted free agent that you want the Suns to pursue the most? And is there anybody who is on a 2-way contract or a club option or a play option that, you hope becomes an unrestricted free agent ultimately, and the Phoenix Suns can take a shot at them? So simply go, where should I start? I don't even know where to start. Let's go with the option guys, right? The guys who've got the club option. Okay. So club option guys, there's only 3 guys, I think, who have a club option, and they're all fringe players. Do any of these players interest you as members of the Phoenix Suns? Michael Carter Williams, who's with the Orlando Magic, Miles McBride with the New York Knicks, or Derrick Rose with the New York Knicks?
Oh, Derrick Rose was a name last year. Sorry, I'm trying to pull him up too so I can see as we go through them. Michael Carter Williams. Interesting. None of these guys do at all.
I'm with you.
What? I mean,
Derrick Rose,
no, none of them.
He has
Michael Carter. I'm like, wait, is this like 10 years ago?
Yeah, I know, right?
I didn't know if he's still playing.
I didn't know that guy was even in the fucking league.
Miles
Derrick
McBride,
Rose has a club option for $15.5 million. I'm telling you, the Knicks will release him. They will not exercise that club option. He most likely will become an unrestricted free agent. If he is an unrestricted free agent, does Derrick Rose have any appeal for you at 34? Almost, he'll be 35 when the season begins. Any interest in having Derrick Rose hanging out on the bench?
Towards the end of last season, I think it was something that we all kind of wanted, just as a third guy. I wouldn't mind it going into this year. I wouldn't be too excited, obviously, but it's a guy that we kind of just wanted last year just to have there. So yeah, I guess, I don't know. I'm not so excited about these names, man.
I'm not either. And again, I'm trying to look at this through the lens essentially of, okay, the Suns move on from CP3. If we're moving on from CP3, maybe if you give Derrick Rose a veteran minimum deal because he wants to come here and play the backup to the backup, and we focus on one of these other names via free agency, not through trading, but via free agency, I think that potentially might be a good idea. I wouldn't mind having D Rose the backup to the backup. He comes in, he plays 20 games, and 11 minutes a game. So, but again, that's a if the price is right guy.
Mm-hmm.
When you start to look at the club option guys, or I'm sorry, the player option guys, there's only one point guard who's going to have a player option this offseason. And this is a name that falls under the all-star tier, and that's Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet has the option this season to exercise his player option and stay with the Toronto Raptors. If he does so, he's going to make $22.8 million. So I ask you this, Matthew. If Fred VanVleet decides not to exercise his player option, that he feels one of 2 things. 1, I want to test the market and see if I can make more money. Or 2, I simply want out of Toronto. Should the Phoenix Suns try to pursue him?
Well, it's tough now. I think with the amount of money he's going to want, Fred VanVleet seemed sexy before, but now it just kind of gets away from me now. Now that it's a couple years in the future, it's a guy that you want next to Booker and KD for sure to slide right in there. But it's a guy too, like that's going to make too much money, and experience is huge there. Leadership is big there. A guy that's very confident in himself, what he brings to the court is huge. But the thing is, like the money is just that's a big issue for me. If you're going to spend that much money, there's other guys out there we'll talk about in the future of this podcast that, you know, kind of fits the bill more in my head, because Fred VanVleet is he's a good addition to your team for sure if you want to win a title. But that just sucks, John.
Yeah.
When we just talk about the money, I think it's just obviously it's you're rid of Chris Paul and you're rid of DeAndre Ayton. All right. And if we sign him for what, 22, you said
22.8 is what is,
if we have to just to get a point guard in here of his stature, it's probably what we're going to have to do.
So the interesting thing for a player like Fred VanVleet is, you know, that he's been waiting for this day. And I wonder what his agent is telling him, because the landscape has changed for him. Had the CBA remained intact, yeah, you absolutely do not take your player option. You go out there and you make $30 million from somebody, no problem. You could do it. He could do it. But now, what is his agent telling him? What is his true value? Because again, if he's going to go make that kind of money, he's going to have to do so on a team in which essentially his salary handicaps his team. Right now, he's making 17% of the league cap. And if he wants more than that, if he gets upwards of, you know, $30 million, $30 million, which is, you know, like what DeAndre Ayton's making. He's going to make next season like 32.4. That's 24.4% of your team's cap. So again, you're putting a lot of eggs in one basket, and our team's going to be willing to pay that. Is Fred VanVleet going to do what Dennis Schroeder did a couple years ago? I'm not going to take the player option. I'm not going to sign the extension with the Lakers. I'm going to bet on myself because I think I can make more than that. And then nobody fucking paid him. And he ended up in Boston on a mid-level exception. He ended up getting traded back to the Lakers, and he's not making any of that money. He's a name we're going to discuss here momentarily. Is that what Fred VanVleet has to fear going into this offseason because of the landscape of the new CBA? That's a valid point.
Yeah, he does. But, I mean, you can say he does, but right now I'm thinking that this name, Fred VanVleet, is a little bit more sexier than what Schroeder was. The fact that Schroeder, I mean, good graces,
Fact.
right?
Fact.
He can believe in himself for sure, but he's not that player. He's a guy I wanted maybe 10 years for on the Suns. He was a guy that I was like, oh, get that guy. But right now, Fred VanVleet is a perfect example of maybe the Detroit Pistons. I know we're always going to talk about them now. If they need that point guard, right? I mean, they got Cade, right? But you need the other guy in the backcourt, I feel like, to be a leader. Fred is definitely, I think, is a guy that they can pay that 30 mil to bring him on there, because Monty needs that guy on the court, right? He's a good coach, but he needs a guy that can actually read the floor, get the teammates involved quickly in an offense, progressing in a way to where you can be a title contender after a couple years. This is a good guy to add to your team to head in that direction. So I see teams like that signing him for that much money. He's going to get paid for sure.
Yeah, Monty's system, essentially, it's a guard-centric system, so a Fred VanVleet makes sense. I can see Fred VanVleet, in all honesty, opting out of his player option in Toronto, becoming a free agent, and signing with the San Antonio Spurs, who have a ton of cap space and can pay him for, you know, 30 mil for 2 or 3 years as they develop Victor Wembanyama and then move on from there. That's more likely happening than I feel having VanVleet come to Phoenix. But, you know, that's why we bring up the name. Then we go into the restricted free agents, and of the 40 available point guard free agents, 17 reside in this area. You have the majority of them are fringe players, and 4 of them are rotation players. I'm going to go through the fringe players, and I'm just going to say a name, and you can say, you know, yes or no. And if we say yes, we'll talk about them. If we say no, we'll just keep on moving, right? You know, you ever seen Jalen Rose and, you know, keep it moving. Jalen Rose and Jalen and Jacoby do that shit. I'm not going to steal that, but that's what I want to do. Gabe York.
No.
Okay. Jesus, it took you that long
Well,
to
I
say
mean,
no on
there's
Gabe New York.
yeah. Well, I'm just gonna say this. I mean, these guys that you're gonna name are all no's probably, except for
Nope.
one.
There's one
But
that's
yeah,
yeah, exactly. There's one that's not a no, in my opinion. McKinley
yeah.
Wright the fourth.
No, God bless you though.
Dwayne Washington Jr.
God, what a stint with the Suns. Should have had him. We would have won a championship.
But
No.
no, right?
Yeah.
Scottie Pippen Jr.
Keep that guy away from my mama. I think is that the
Slam
guy going
dunk.
out with Michael Jordan's mom or something?
And note that a lot of these restricted free agents, especially the fringe guys, they're all two-way guys. So they all have a qualifying offer with the team that they were on previously. So slam dunk champion Mac McClung.
No.
Theo Maledon.
No.
I like Theo Maledon, but no. Trevor Hudgens.
No.
Colin Gillespie.
No.
Trent Forrest.
No.
Jeff Doughton.
No.
JD Davison.
Who's that?
Jared Butler. All these guys sound like made-up names on 2K.
Little guy, Jared Butler.
Saban Lee.
Yes.
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 Saban Lee, in my opinion, you absolutely bring back. Saban Lee gets a qualifying offer from the Phoenix Suns for $1.7 million. They should make that qualifying offer the first chance they can. And then from there, the league can try to match and whatnot. And if they do, then you match what they match. But I think that you bring back Saban Lee. I think that's a fucking slam dunk.
Yeah, it's insurmountable, really, the love I have for this guy. There's something in him, and I'll say it over and over again until he gets more minutes. You bring him back as a third if you want, but he's going to work his way up to being a backup point guard for the Suns. He's a guy you can trust for sure on the floor, and he learns quick. And the minutes he had this last year, very minimal. And I just think this guy's going to pick it up with that offense if they can stay consistent and healthy. Whoever they add for the bench, he's gonna come. He's gonna kill. Just remember these words, Jamsters. This guy's gonna be he's gonna be good. I like him a lot.
I really like Saban Lee. And obviously we are biased because he played for the Suns last year, but you do have, seen as he's our restricted free agent, you have first dibs on him. The energy he plays with, the way he attacks the basket. He was the one guy consistently, we'd be doing post-game pods, and we're like, dude, all the Suns need to do is attack the basket. We don't attack the basket. We don't get to the line. There's Saban Lee just like, needs to work a little bit on some of his his shot. He needs to work on some of his playmaking ability. But, I mean, backup to the backup for a $1.7 million contract, you need that right now. That's how you construct a roster. And you bring in a guy who's familiar, I wouldn't say with the system, but with the team.
Yeah, and it doesn't even matter because this guy came in, he just took control. Who put it in there in this chat right here? Chris Stewart. Lee is as good as Payne. I think I trust he is probably as good for sure, but I think he'll be better after one season with the Suns, a full season. He'll be much better than what Payne was, I think, for sure.
I just feel like he plays with a lot more control, and that's the scary thing about Payne.
He does. He has that emotion. Just he's emotionless. He doesn't even care out there. He's just like, I'm out here to get the job done, dude.
And local kid, Corona del Sol, gotta love it. All right, there's four restricted free agents who qualify in the tier of rotation. You have Delano Banton from the Toronto Raptors. No desire there for me. Nope. Kobe White from the Chicago Bulls. Wow.
No, I never liked him.
I didn't either. I didn't like him when he played in college either.
Okay, I thought you were going to say Kobe White tonight.
Nope.
So,
interesting. I got my guys, but they're on the unrestricted free agent side. I always have such a hard time.
Well, you said to pick one guy for each, right? Or two guys for each. That's what we were doing, right?
Yeah. Well, Saban Lee's my one, and I'm going to get to my other one here in a second. Ayo Dosunmu. What's the guy's name from Chicago? Ayo Dosunmu. I think I said that right. I don't know.
Sunmu.
And then from the San Antonio Spurs, Trey Jones.
Your guy, huh?
Trey Jones is a yes for me if the Suns can get him out of San Antonio. His qualifying offer is $5.2 million, however. So that's going to be something that, again, you have a team in the San Antonio Spurs who have a ton of cap space. It doesn't. They're not worried about the same things that the Suns are. They don't have the two top guys. Like, as I'm doing NBA 2K right now, I'm literally playing with a bunch of rookies. The way I've constructed my roster, to open up cap space is play with a bunch of rookies and just kind of develop them. It's the fun way. I like to do it that way. And Trey Jones is a guy who it's like, listen, he's 23 years old. He's played for 3 years with the San Antonio Spurs, knows their system, knows Pop's system. It makes sense for Greg Popovich and the San Antonio Spurs to bring him back because he is a stabilizing force. He played in 68 games last season for the Spurs. I don't see them not giving him an extension. But if they do release him, I think that he's somebody who you can get on a decent deal. And, if that's your backup to the backup, Trey Jones, who played at Duke, I'm a big fan of him. I'm a big fan of the way he plays. He's shifty. He's small and shifty. I like him as a backup to the backup point guard. I would like him as our backup point guard over Cameron Payne, and I'm not afraid to say that.
No, that's just it. That's the point of our podcast. 3 years running, we've gotten to the point where we're just done with Cameron Payne. Like, all this work we put in, and it's just, we went through a little spurt with him, but for sure, everybody that we want is, I might say maybe a third point guard backup, but backup to the backup. But I'm really just saying, just replace Cameron Payne, even Saban Lee, like just replace him with that's
use the Cameron Payne money, because Cameron Payne's 6.5 is non-guaranteed. Use that money on Trey Jones if you can, because it's a restricted free agent. You can still make an offer, and then it's up on San Antonio to match that offer. Trey Jones that's in the void camp of things.
Yeah. Wait, what? That's in the void camp of things?
Yeah, he's on my camp. Like I'm a Trey Jones guy.
Oh, okay.
He hangs out at my camp.
I agree. As do a lot of the Jamsters out there. They're really into Trey Jones. So you're onto something there.
Okay, I am. All right. So that's it for the restricted free agents. Now we're going to go into the unrestricted free agents, and of the 40 potential point guards, there's 19 of them. Okay. And there's a lot of names in here, and I feel like we can have some good conversations about a lot of these names. So starting at the fringe players, you have DJ Augustine. Any interest in DJ Augustine? 35 and a half years old.
No.
Yeah, me neither. Matthew Dellavedova. I didn't even know he was still in the league.
I'm going to say no.
Goran Dragic.
No.
Yeah, he's past his prime. George Hill, 37 as well. Whew. Aaron Holiday.
Bring him back, huh?
I'm over it. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm done.
I think there's better options out there. I liked Aaron Holiday, but I think there's better options out there.
Yeah.
Raul Neto.
No.
That annoying son of a bitch. I don't want him on my team. Frank Ntilikina.
There's a name, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, he only made not even $2 million last year.
Yeah. Frank Ntilikina, after he was in that trade for Porzingis. Remember, he was in Dallas and they sent him to the Knicks, or he was in the Knicks and they sent him to Dallas. And I mean, he played 47 games last year, and he 2.9 points. He's nothing. He's a bust. He's been a bust.
He really has.
Megatron. No to Frankie Smokes
for sure. Yeah,
he
that
was.
Kevin
O'Connor was all about Ntilikina. Big time.
No, thanks.
Yeah, I don't think any of those fringe guys really kind of catch my eye. But as we start to get in some of the rotation guys, these are the guys that we need to really kind of think about. And the Suns are going to have to explore this offseason. It starts with Ish Smith, currently playing with the Denver Nuggets in the NBA Finals. I want to bring Ish Smith back. I'm a leave a past in the past kind of guy. How about you?
Yeah, just let him come back year to year into Phoenix and just kill us, win games against us. That's what I like. Keep it that way.
I love when he always shows up on an opposing team and kills us. So I like your strategy. Just bring him back to Phoenix and bench him so he doesn't kill us whenever he comes to town. What about Corey Joseph?
No, thank you.
Kendrick Nunn.
No, thanks.
Kendrick Nunn made my list. Of my unrestricted free agents, Kendrick Nunn is on my list. I kind of like him. So we'll talk about him a little bit. Dennis Smith Jr., another guy who busted. Both those guys who got traded for each other, Dennis Smith Jr. and Frank Ntilikina, were both part of the same transaction.
Yeah, those are, Dennis Smith always goes through a spurt, though, every year, where he has like the 1 or 2 games where it's like, oh, is this guy onto something? No.
You're like, there he is. Reggie Jackson, also on the Denver Nuggets.
Not bad. We wanted him on the buyout. We definitely did.
Interesting name. Not a lot of playing time, practically none with the Nuggets. But I mean, who's getting a lot of
Good
playing time
backup
with
to
the
the
Nuggets?
backup when guys are hurt, for sure, like the Suns had.
And he can score. Javon Carter.
I love Javon. Yes, I would say yes.
If leave the past in the past, I just can't do it again.
It is a weird thing when they do come back. So yeah.
Gabe Vincent.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He's doing great things in the playoffs, but I gotta, there's two guys that I like on this list, and he's not one of them. Dennis Schroeder.
Hell no.
Bad locker room guy, man. Always been that way. He's a me, not a we guy. Me, not a we. All right, and then we get into the 3 starter options per spottrack.com. You have Russell Westbrook.
Holy shit. I was looking at that money. No.
Bring Russell Westbrook in on a mid-level exception. I'm all for it. But no,
of course. That's what I was all for last year. Him being just a backup. So.
Just having been the backup, yeah.
If he was our center, we would have won.
Beverly.
For that much money, I wouldn't mind. I'm going to go just kind of, if we got him, I'd be like, it's not Dylan Brooks, but it'll do.
Wow. You really...
I wouldn't care. I mean, look at how much he's making. He doesn't make shit. I wouldn't mind him on our team.
I know he doesn't make shit, but like
he would win us those games in the season where it's like no one's really hitting or anything, and we just need that guy to just fuck shit up in a bad way.
Yeah, but
we get some calls or something, and we can win the game.
But when I see him, man,
God damn it, I don't know what it is about your face, but I want to deliver one of these right in your suck hole.
Yeah,
I just.
I know, but once he's a son, it'd be different. It's not like he's that great of a player, obviously.
There's no fucking way I'd want Patrick Beverly on this team.
Always almost out in the league every year.
Fuck him. If we want to fuck shit up guy, get another fuck shit up guy.
I know, but his name's there on the list, and I'm not going to just say no. I say maybe.
Blaze Megatron. Maybe. We need assholes on our team.
We do. And I don't know if he's a real asshole. I think it's a lot of fake because it's the way he made it in the league. So he's got to stay that way. It's persona.
100%. 100%. Last starter, D'Angelo Russell.
Nope. Not at all. It's funny how much he almost did hit these playoffs, though, where guys are like, oh, shit, D'Angelo Russell. But
but then he became D'Lo. And you remember, oh, yeah, this guy, not for the price or value paid. Again, mid-level exceptions, sure, bring him in, but that's not what he's going to be looking for. But again, much akin to Fred VanVleet, a lot of these guys, it's going to be so interesting to see what these guys' contracts are going to go for because the market's going to set itself this summer. And you might sit there and you're looking at the fact that D'Lo average annual salary is $29.3 million. And he probably won't get paid anywhere near that because the market won't, you can't do that anymore. You can't.
Now for guys like that, absolutely not.
No.
You can't just throw. Yeah, I mean,
and like Blaze Megatron says, maybe D'Lo for cheap because he wants to play with Book. Maybe, again, if these are mid-level exception guys, perhaps. But as Jam says, he's trash. D'Lo is trash.
He is, but there might be a team out there, not like because I feel like even Fred VanVleet's going to make more money than D'Lo for sure.
Oh yeah.
He's a guy that's worth it. D'Lo, no, he just hasn't proved himself. And I don't know if you can say is it a different system? Maybe he can fit in just as a shooter, but there's just something about him. He's not a winning player, man.
It's exactly what Howard in the chat just said. D'Lo, not a winning player.
Oh, Howard, good to see you, Howard.
Good, appreciate that, Howard. The last name on the list is in the all-star tier. Kyrie Irving.
Oh my gosh.
I would not be again, I'm probably the crazy person here. I probably wouldn't be super opposed if we had Kyrie Irving, but it just doesn't make sense under the new financial. It just doesn't. If he's a mid-level exception, if he somehow would say, fuck it, I don't want the money, I want to go play with KD again, yada, yada, yada. You take him because of the talent, but you don't take, again, if I'm talking about price for value paid, Kyrie Irving is not it. He does not give you the price for value paid. We see that time and again with him. He makes this massive money. He always gives you problems in some way, shape, or form off the court. He doesn't fulfill the entirety of his contract. He's not worth $34 million. He's just not. So no for Kyrie for me. Matthew, tell me why you want him.
Colonization or whatever that name is.
Calazonian? Colonization.
Fuck it. Simple and sweet. Fuck it. Yeah.
Fuck it.
I don't trust this franchise really right now at all. What's going to happen in the future, who we're going to get. So you might as well just say fuck it and get Kyrie. If you do get off those contracts with DA and Chris Paul, it is possible, but then you just surround them by trash. I think it's something that's going to happen for sure, that Kyrie's going to be here, and it's $50 million a year almost, or whatever he's looking for, which is crazy. 4-year, 5-year deal. I think you do it. I think it can go two ways. You do it, and these guys are healthy, and obviously they might win a championship. Second way is KD is just never KD again, and maybe you can trade off of him or something. I don't know what his trade exceptions are, but then you have Kyrie and you have Book, and Book will be happy with Kyrie. And a lot of fans hate that. They're going to shake the screen right now, and they're going to kiss me on the lips because they'll be so mad that they hurt me. But I think it's going to happen because Kyrie is a guy that's going to be with KD wherever he goes. So we got into this, and that's the only way of getting out is getting Kyrie, and just the whole thing just melting in front of us. It's all over, guys.
And
just
typical
let you know,
Suns
it's
fandom.
all over.
Gabo's right in the chat. He says we won't have any bench if we get Kyrie, and that's 100% correct.
We'll only have 3 players, and that's it.
That's it. That's it. And you're not winning with that.
We'll have to have the ball boys fill in. Those 3 guys and a couple.
The guys
who
are. It's like they after a free throw, then they have to go mop up their own sweat. You know,
yeah,
it's like
they have their mop on their back.
They're running up and down the court.
They're running backwards with it.
They look like what's the shittiest Marvel Avenger? The guy with the arrows. I was trying to think that guy's name.
Is that his name? I don't know.
What is it?
I don't know. Jamsters, help me out.
The guy who Jeremy Renner plays.
I know which one.
That's what they look like.
Bullseye?
They got like
I don't even know.
Yeah, Bullseye or Arch Eye or something like. Oh shit! I ran out of arrows. I'm going home now. I can't help you guys out.
Come on, Jamsters.
I can't avenge.
I know who we're talking about? Say it
or something. Anyways, yeah.
In the corner.
Jam. The gorillas shooting threes.
Yeah,
help the team. You know, so I don't think we can with Kyrie. But as I look at these lists. And I have 2 modes of thinking, as we talked about at the front end.
Hawkeye.
If it is Hawkeye, okay, yeah. Hawkeye, not the weakest. You tripping from Coda Kid? Yeah, I'm not going to get
true nerd right there.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into a Marvel conversation with people. I watch too much basketball, like a man.
I don't watch anything. So,
you got 2 modes of thinking. If the Suns do keep CP3, obviously now we're talking about the backup and the backup to the backup. And we mentioned some of the names along this long 40-name journey of who we would prefer. The backup to the backup, in my opinion, you go with Saban Lee. End of discussion. It's if you keep CP3, who from the restricted free agent and who from the unrestricted free agents would you prefer the Suns to have? And then I'll ask the same question. If you don't keep CP3, who do you go with? So let's start with in the keep the CP3 scenario, from a restricted free agent standpoint, who would you like to be the backup for the Phoenix Suns and why?
Saban Lee.
Wow. So then I guess the question is, who's the backup to the backup?
Backup to the backup? Kobe White. These are Kobe White's the name. When I see it, I think it's the guy the Suns go after. Yeah, I think it's the guy that the Suns actually do pick up, for sure. But he would be the backup, and then you'd have Saban Lee. So those would be the 2.
I would go Saban Lee as the backup to the backup, and Trey Jones as the backup.
Okay.
And I already kind of went down the Trey Jones thought process and how, again, both of them are restricted free agents, albeit we own the rights to one of them. Whereas Trey Jones, you'd have to fight a little bit harder. But if I look at the list of unrestricted free agents, I like Trey Jones more than pretty much every one of them. Now, that being said, I wouldn't mind a Kendrick Nunn as a backup if we can't get Trey Jones. I wouldn't mind Reggie Jackson as a backup if we can't get Trey Jones. The big question becomes, if the Suns take CP3 and they flip him for assets, and there's no point guard involved in that trade, who becomes the starting point guard for the Phoenix Suns next season? When you take a look at these lists, is there anybody who's unrestricted or restricted that you would prefer?
Yeah, it's going to be Kyrie. I prefer him. It's going to happen. They're going to get off the DA thing too. I know that's $50 million right there, right? DA, what does he make? 20 what? per year.
32.3, pretty much
30.
33.3.
Okay, so yeah, it's plenty of money. That's the thing that's going to happen. We're not going to get a lot back. Assets, like you said, some picks, whatever. But the reward is you get Kyrie. And I think Kyrie is going to be the answer for the Suns, and it's the only answer they have.
So if you get Kyrie Irving, and again, he exercised last season his $36.5 million option. Okay, 36.5. You take into account that Kevin Durant next season is making 46.4, and Devin Booker is making 36. And I'm not talking DA money because, as you pointed out, if you're going after Kyrie, you're saying goodbye to DA, right? That's $118 million between all three of those players. Okay, what's the cap? Was it 134? Does that sound right?
Wasn't it 130 something for the first, and then like the top apron is like 164, I think.
I think it's 169. So yeah, 134 is the salary cap as of right now. It might go up. So if I go 134 minus 118.9, that leaves you $15 million. Okay, for the next 10 players on your roster. You need to average, and that's just to stay under the cap. Now, again, to your point, if you were to sit there and you go, okay, the tax apron number 2, or tax apron number 1 is 169. Tax apron number 2 is 179.5 per Dave King. Okay, so 179.5, and that's when you hit that one. That's where you can't offer mid-level exceptions. You can't wipe your ass with your left hand for the entire season. Like it gets ridiculous. But essentially, if you have Kyrie Irving, you have Devin Booker, and you have Kevin Durant, if you want to avoid tax apron number 2, you have $60.6 million left to play with, and you have 10 players that you have to distribute that money. You can hand out contracts for $6 million or less. Now, the mid-level exception, the veteran minimum is how you're going to have to fill out. Veteran minimum, I think, is 1.7, 1.8, somewhere in there. So you put some of those 1.7, 1.8s, you stack some of those contracts. It's definitely doable. But we're talking about the quality of the bench behind it. So here's the other side of this, and I'm going to go down this route with you, Matthew. Well, I'll go another direction just for the sake of argument, because I agree with you. I think if the Suns can go, if we get rid of Chris Paul, we can bring in Kyrie Irving. I think what you've done is you've created this place where veteran minimums, people will come play. Reggie Jackson will want to come play here, right? Other players, some of these unrestricted free agents that we're going to discuss over these next few weeks when we're talking about shooting guards and power forwards and shibbity hoopla. The Snoop Dogg got a brand new job or whatever. They're all going to want to come play here because you're of the level of talent on this team. Again, I'm going to go back, though, to the price value paid with Kyrie Irving. I just don't trust it. That's a personal thing. But you can do it. DA would have to be gone because, again, he was making 33. So essentially what you're doing is you're going goodbye DA's 33, hello Kyrie's 36 or whatever they end up paying him. And that's the problem the Suns are in right now, because they got Chris Paul and they've got DeAndre Ayton currently under contract. All those guys combined, let's do some quick math here. 47.6 plus 36.0 plus 32.4 plus 30.8, 146. Salary cap's 134. The 4 players between Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, Chris Paul, we're already $12 million over the cap.
Yeah.
So something's got to change.
I understand. I know the apron, the whole, you can't pick up the guys, the buyouts, but no buyouts. I mean, you even saw Reggie Jackson, the guy that we absolutely wanted, not even playing for a championship, probably going to win the championship.
The buyouts never, we talk about it every year, but they never affect a team's championship aspirations.
Yeah.
Ever.
And I understand
Name
the whole,
once.
Yeah. And the Kyrie thing too. Like, I don't trust him as far as going to throw my booger. Like, I really don't. But the thing is, you can't trust any of these guys. I mean, we've already seen this plenty of times with any team. And of course, it's NBA related. It's injuries that hold up a lot of teams from winning anything. Suns have that issue with Booker. Suns have that issue, of course, with Chris Paul. Kevin Durant's always going to be injured. He's going to be that guy from now on. I'm not going to say he's going to be out for months or anything, but he'll be a guy that's going to get nicked and knacked and have to sit on the bench and pallywhack himself or whatever. And then I think that what Kyrie will bring though is obviously a great player, but it also just it makes you think like how good this team will be with Kyrie, and like how frustrated will Suns fans be knowing, hey, he might say something, he might not be able to play. That makes sense, but you have to realize like there's a lot on the line right now in the league, and if you can get rid of DA and you can get rid of Chris Paul and you can sign a guy like Kyrie, that's huge, because right now in the championship you have a team in Miami that was dog shit all year. They're in the finals, right?
Yeah,
because they got hot at the right time. And then right now, Jokic is leading a team without any other all-star really besides Jamal Murray to a championship. So I just think if you have the opportunity, I know it sucks. I know Kyrie might not show up some games, but it's the thing is like you have to just take chances now. And you know that Matt Ishbia is a guy that just wants to take chances. He's going to throw his money out there. And I'm not worried about the cap. I'm like, the only reason I'm excited about him is because he's going to spend a lot of money. So I'm not going into these things we're going to do. I'm just not going to worry about the cap. I'm going to say these are the guys I think the Suns should get, and they probably will because Ishbia is going to throw his money out there.
Good, because I'll be the guy who worries about the cap, and that's what makes this the perfect podcast. I'm
does,
over here worrying about the cap, crunching numbers, and you're like, "Fuck numbers."
I'm the
calculator.
fun stepdad.
You know, you come in and just buy all the toys, you know, and you know, I think the lesson that we've learned as we navigate the free agent market relative to point guards is in the free agent market, there's not a lot of great options with point guards. There really isn't. You have Kyrie, who's a monster name, but there's a lot of baggage that comes with Kyrie. There's a lot of feelings that come with Kyrie, and a lot of them are personal for people. I am one of those people who it's like, I don't get overly involved with people's politics or give a shit about who they are off the court. Because, you know, maybe I'm a centralist and I just give a shit. I just don't give a shit. Like everyone, Barry Bonds is an asshole. I'm like, I don't give a shit. He's an asshole. Look, he just hit that dinger.
Of course he
like,
is, dude. Everyone wants to talk to him all the time. I'd be an asshole too.
And he had the best eye I've ever seen in baseball. And so what if he juiced up a little bit? He was amazing. Like you couldn't strike the guy out. And he had the best eye I've ever seen in baseball. Steroids don't give you the eye. It's just when he did hit the ball, he launched it. And everyone's like, he's an asshole off the court. I'm like, I don't give a shit.
It would slow it down though.
I'm not hanging out with him. I don't need to, you know, Kyrie says some dumb shit and it's socially insensitive and the way that he navigated the pandemic, it offended a lot of people, but I got bigger things to worry about in my life than what Kyrie Irving said about a movie or how he perceives the pandemic, right? I give a shit when he's not playing. That's what fucking pisses me off because I'm a fan of basketball and when they're on the court only. Like I don't need sports and their athletes to be my moral compass. I'm stronger than that. And you might agree with that or disagree with that. And that's your right. And it's my right too. So from a personal standpoint, I don't care about the Kyrie stuff. From a basketball standpoint, he's great. But I do know that, again, when we talk about price for value paid, it's not always there because he does things that prevents him from being on the court because of all the noise, if you will. From a talent standpoint, I mean, it would be amazing. So, but that's where we're at when it comes to the point guard position. And that's why we wanted to have this podcast, is talk about everything holistically and show you that the best way, in my opinion, the best way for the Suns to navigate this offseason is to either get rid of DeAndre Ayton, get rid of CP3, get rid of both, but in an effort, and when you're doing so, you're bringing back assets that are filling those slots, boy. And of course, that's how it's going to have to happen. But I don't think that trading CP3, trading CP3 and not earning a garnering back in assets that's a point guard, that's got to be the way to go. Or when you trade DA, you get the point guard from him. Because I just don't think the free agent market's where it's going to be for the Suns when it comes to the point guard position. I think as we get further down the line, when we start talking about the shooting guards and the small forwards and the power forwards, I think that's where a lot of the free agents that are going to build this roster and this team are going to come from. I think your point guard has to be acquired via trade.
Yeah, we could have just kept Mikal and Cameron Johnson and went to go get KD this summer, right?
Why not?
I have no idea.
Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be nuts, man. And I don't know how confident you are in this team right now and the owner, because I'm just not really. I know he went to go get KD, which was big. It's huge, right? I don't know yet. And I think, like you said before, sit back and observe. Because before I was like, oh, I'm all about him spending money. But right now it's just like, I don't know what this team is. So I'm a little insecure about it. So I guess just sit back, take an edible and just enjoy the ride, man.
Well, and I'll go back to what I kind of said at the front end of the podcast. I don't know how this is all going to play out, but I do know that starting with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant as your basis is huge.
Oh,
it's a great starting point.
It really is.
So I don't have
the best one
confidence.
out there.
I don't have non-confidence in this team. It's going to be so interesting this summer. You got to stay glued to the Suns Jam Session podcast as we navigate everything that's going on, because it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be as exciting as Matthew and I pretty much wearing the same shirts. Look at your shirt choice tonight.
You have a Sun shirt on?
Yeah.
I've had this shirt and hat for like 3 years, man.
Yeah, I've had this hat for a long time. It's like my favorite Suns hat. Real quick, a couple of the topics. Monty Williams, man, going to Detroit. We mentioned a little bit earlier. Do you think that Matt Ishbia is paying the Detroit Pistons? He's like, dude, you got it. He's the mole, right? Like, where's Ishbia from? Michigan. Where's Monty Williams end up? Michigan. He's got a mole over there now. He's like, okay, perfect. Now that I got him there, now I can trade Landry Shamet there. Now I can, we can work a deal with Shamet, Payne, Shamet, Payne, and CP3 all go to Detroit, and we get back assets, and we get back James Wiseman, and we get back Killian Hayes, and we get back Marvin Bagley Jr. and picks. Like, do you think that there's some conspiracy going on here? Because that's a ridiculous amount that they gave him.
Absolutely. And you know what's going to happen is DA's going to go there too. And then DA Monty be like, it wasn't us. It's Booker and Chris Paul that's fucking up the team. Like, what? No way. Wait, we didn't know that. Of course, we didn't know that. We don't know the real story. Watch him and DA end up together, and they just are like best buds, and they're killing it. DA's 32 and 20 every night. Woo! Let's go Suns. And we got KD on the bench every night. Can't wait.
God. It's
an all-star next year.
Good for Monty. Good
Cameron
for
Johnson's in the 3-point contest finally.
And we're just sad all the time because that's what we are.
I'm used to it. I don't I don't give a fuck anymore. This distraction we call basketball, I don't care anymore, right? I'm not going to give into it.
Chris Stewart asks in the chat, would you trade DA to Boston for Marcus Smart and Robert Williams?
Yes.
I would want one more asset attached to that. I need a pick or something else. But potentially, I wouldn't be opposed.
Absolutely.
Marcus Smart's a little bit older, but I think he'd be a great addition to his team. Williams.
He'd be perfect next to Book.
Yep.
I think. Or play the 3.
That's a good one there. NBA Finals. Game 1 just wrapped up. The Denver Nuggets won. Did you watch the game, Matthew?
I watched the first half. I watched the fourth quarter. Those Heat, man, you always think they have a chance. They're never out of it. They pushed it to like 9 points, like how many times? 5 or 6 times in the last 5 minutes. They kept coming back, but I'm like, they just are so tired out there. Jokic always looks tired, but the Heat looks so exhausted, and they've put up a big fight in each series before, so it's going to take a lot out of them to get this one done too. But I think this one goes 7 for sure. I think the Heat have a real chance to win next game and win maybe another one in Denver. I don't think that they're just going to lay down. They're going to be the team that's going to upset every round and win the championship. Is that crazy? They probably will.
Nuggets in 5.
You think Nuggets in 5? I don't know.
Nuggets
I think
they're just so good, man.
They are good, but the Heat.
I know the Heat. I know
what I saw. But tonight what I saw. Remember Game 2 went to the finals.
I do.
And
I was thinking about that tonight.
2-0, and the way the Suns just ended that game, I'm like, oh, like it was good. Like we got the victory, but you just saw like some life and like and the Bucks, and I was like, oh. Like, here they come, maybe. But, of course, they won 4 in a row, but I didn't predict that. But then it's just like, that's what I see with the Heat in this series. I think the Heat are definitely the Bucks, where they have that energy, that defense.
I don't.
That's just going to kill them in the end. But, no, I think the Nuggets will win
in 7. They don't have Giannis. They don't have that Giannis.
The Nuggets will win in 7.
No, I think it's Nuggets in 5. The Nuggets
have
an answer. They have an answer for everything, though. They keep coming at you. Jokic is unfucking stoppable because he beats you 30 different ways. That's exactly what happened in the fourth quarter. They got it down to 10. Jokic. Before that, he was dismantling them with his passing.
Struggling a little bit.
He always looks like he's struggling, but he scored all of his points in
the
fourth.
But I know he was just missing some like easier shots. I think, what did he have, like 23 points tonight?
No, he had 25. I had
25. I thought he was a little off today, and I think the Heat missed a lot of shots that were open.
Yeah, he was off. He had a triple-double, and his team won by 11. Ooh, wow, that's tough. Like, that's Jokic, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Heat will win 3, though. I think for sure they will.
Okay. We'll see. We'll continue to monitor, and I'll tell you this: you've been pretty much right all postseason. So who am I to doubt you, Matthew?
Have I?
Pretty much. When it was 3-0 Miami, you're like, yeah, Boston can come all the way back, or at least close. They did.
I thought Boston would still win, though, in the series.
Yeah, but I mean, you had a lot more faith in them than I did.
Yeah. I mean, Jason Tatum getting hurt, but I think the Heat would have probably still won. But.
Well, we shall see. Jamsters, again, thank you for joining us, whether you're watching along live, watching later, or listening. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button on YouTube. Give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We haven't received one in like 2 months, and my feelings are a little bit hurt. I check that almost every day. I click on our podcast, I scroll the bottom, see if we have any new fun messages from our listeners, and no one's stepping up and doing it. Not one.
To the plate.
Hurts my
Grow
feelings
some balls.
just a little bit.
All y'all.
Just a little bit. It hurt. You should say that in your 5-star review. I grew some balls.
I grew some balls. And
I
put a
dare
pic. Can
one
they
of you to
put
do
pics
that.
in there? Their balls?
No, they can do emojis. So do
some ball emojis in there.
Throw some basketballs in there. So we would truly
Small
appreciate
balls
that.
Butter? Luke Carter. I don't know where that was before I said balls.
We will be going live again on Monday. We will be doing Trade Machine, and we'll be talking about CP3 and exploring some trades. So that's going to be more of a fun one than Landry Shamet. And that being said, I know you are, Matthew. I know I am. We are both readily awaiting our emergency podcast when the Suns announce a new head coach. I bring a Suns hat with me to work every day. I've got my laptop. I'm ready to go. And they continue to not fucking hire anybody. So
did you say Nick Nurse was introduced today? He was a little stumbling, mumbling there in Philadelphia with those reporters. He chose the wrong city, man. He did. Phoenix, but I still want to know why he didn't choose Phoenix, but he chose the wrong city if he wants to kind of relax with the media. Because you even see with KD when he's here, he's enjoying himself.
He loves it
here, man.
We
love it. Fun loving.
You got fucking Dave King asking you questions, dude. It's chill,
it's all
man.
Chill.
It's super chill.
Blazed.
Yeah,
blazed.
They get blazed Megatron out here. Everyone has a good time. So we'll be waiting, Suns. We'll be waiting. Anybody? Who do you think it's going to be? I think the finalists are Doc Rivers, Frank Vogel, and Kevin Young.
I think it's Kevin Young.
Yeah, I know.
I would just be more surprised if it wasn't. But like if they said Doc Rivers, I'd be so surprised. I know it's a big name, and I know that I even said last pod would probably be him, but I would just be so surprised because of the backlash they're going to get. It's kind of like one of those things where Zaya Thomas, he was announced to be part of front office or something.
And then everyone went crazy.
Leaked that, and everyone went crazy. Like, oh no, never mind, not right now. I'll give it a few more years. He'll come in. But I think it's kind of like that, where he's just kind of seeing, and everyone's kind of, I think, going KY jelly, little, that way.
I think so. Everyone's saying
I'm not
Kevin
excited
Young
about any of it.
Well, it's like I'm with you. Like when we do our emergency podcast, no matter who it is, it's gonna be me and Matthew at work. And just being like, okay, that's who it is. What do you think? I really don't know what to think.
It's exciting to move on from Monty in a way, but it's just like there's nothing really sexy to replace him. So,
well, I feel like Nick Nurse was kind of sexy.
It was the sexiest name up there. I went Kevin Young for me, and then Nick Nurse.
Yes, Doc Rivers is kind of sexy, but again, like our issue has been the postseason, and that's where he fucks us. So it's just like
every year. You can't deal with that again.
That being
He's
said,
worse than Monty.
It'll be Frank Vogel, the one guy we're not talking about.
I wouldn't mind Frank.
I guess I wouldn't either. I wouldn't
coach LeBron, and they did win the championship, but just coaching him and dealing with that shit, like I think he can do anything in the world.
Agreed. He knows how to manage those egos, and that's important. So why do you think it's taking so long before we get out of here? Why do you think it's taking so long? Because Ishby has been a guy who just like snap decisions. Let's go. Get KD. Fire Monty. Yeah. We need a head coach. He's like, hold on.
I really think it came. This is my hunch is that they were waiting for Nick Nurse, and he was choosing between us and Philly, and he chose Philly. And then now we're just like, well, fuck. Like, what should we do? Should we do another round of interviews with some other guys? If that happens, that's kind of scary, but they're just going to have to settle for someone. And I think they're just like, we have a little bit of time. Let's just think this through because these guys aren't really stand out. And, Kevin Young's probably the most loving guy Suns fans will like, but they like Doc Rivers. So they're trying to probably play it that way. I don't know.
The casuals would love Doc Rivers because they know the name. I think Blaze Megatron in the chat nails it. He says,
always.
Because it's going to be Lou. It's going to be Ty
My
Lue.
heart just melted.
Oh, I know.
Oh, I forgot about that name.
Ooh. So I think on that note, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Again, thank you, Jamsters, for joining us. We'll see you live Monday, 8 o'clock Arizona time as we discuss CP3 trades or sooner. But until then, Matthew,
go home and love your family.